You know, there are some stories we all heard as kids, and the lion and the mouse is definitely one of them. But what if there's way more going on in that simple little fable than we remember? Well, today we're going to pull it apart and see what really makes it tick, to find those deep lessons about power and kindness that make it so timeless.
It all boils down to this one powerful idea, that the smallest act of kindness can end up making the loudest roar. So to really get how that works, we've got to look under the hood at the story's structure. It's there that you find some pretty big truths about pride, how we see each other, and what strength really is.
All right, so every great story, right, it's got to start with a problem. And this one starts with a sound, a really, really loud sound that you just can't ignore. And it perfectly sets up this classic underdog situation.
So check this out. In this telling of the story, the first problem isn't even the lion, it's a snoring bear. And you can see the power imbalance right away, can't you? On one side, you have this massive, unmovable problem, and on the other, our tiny little hero, the mouse. The contrast is it's perfect. It's designed to make you root for the little guy from the get-go.
So the mouse tries everything you'd expect. He pleads, he tries making his own noise, but nope, nothing. And this is a really crucial point in the story. He realizes he's hit his limit. He can't do this alone. He needs to find a force that's way, way louder than his. And that search for a louder solution leads him right to the top, to the king of the forest himself, the lion. But as we're about to see, just because you have all the power doesn't mean you have all the wisdom. And the lion's reaction? Wow, it's immediate, and it tells you everything you need to know about him. He doesn't even bother to ask what the mouse's problem is. He just takes one look at his size and writes him off completely. This one line just screams, I only value strength and size, period. And there it is. That's the lion's fatal flaw, laid bare. It's important to see that it's not really about being evil. It's about pride. His arrogance is like a pair of blinders, making it impossible for him to see the value in anyone or anything smaller than him. You just know a character like this is heading for a lesson in humility.
Okay, and this is where the story gets really, really clever. A new problem pops up, and it's one that's perfectly designed to completely flip that power dynamic on its head. It shows us that even the mightiest among us can be brought down by the smallest things.
So the story kind of pauses and asks us, what on earth could possibly humble the king of the forest? A bigger animal? A hunter? Maybe a wildfire? The suspense builds just a little bit before we get the big reveal.
The answer? It's something much smaller and way more annoying. Fleas. I mean, they're the perfect enemy in this story, right? They are the great equalizer. This is a problem the lion can't roar at, he can't fight, he can't scare away. He's totally powerless. And you just gotta love the irony here. This proud, powerful king, who's so obsessed with his image and his strength, is now just itching like crazy and looking, as the story says, rather silly. All that power means absolutely nothing against this tiny, relentless pest.
So this brings us to the real turning point of the whole story. The very character who was just dismissed and insulted, well, now he's the only one in the entire forest who has the power to help. It's a perfect setup for a lesson in kindness.
But get this, even when he's completely miserable and desperate, the lion's first instinct is still pride. He's so stuck in his own worldview that he literally cannot imagine how this little mouse could possibly solve his very big problem. And this is where the mouse really shows us what he's made of. He doesn't get offended, he doesn't demand an apology, he doesn't hold a grudge, he just ignores the insults and gets to work. He offers kindness when he was shown none, and that single act is, in its own way, more powerful than any roar could ever be.
And now, here comes the payoff. The mouse's selfless act is about to completely shatter the lion's pride and totally transform his perspective. A good deed is about to be repaid in a big way.
I mean, just look at this transformation. It says it all. The lion's entire worldview just crumbles. He goes from seeing a useless mouse to seeing someone who saved him. For the very first time, he's judging someone based on their actions and their character, not their size. It's a complete paradigm shift for him.
And the lion doesn't just say thank you, he repays the debt. He becomes a powerful ally and gives the mouse the one thing he needed from the very beginning, one single mighty roar.
And that one roar is all it takes. The bear wakes up and the mouse's problem is finally solved. But think about how it got solved. Not by the mouse's own power, but through this incredible, unlikely alliance that was built on one simple act of kindness.
So, what's the big takeaway here? This story has stuck around for centuries because it's so much more than a kid's tale. It's basically a blueprint for how to be a better person. It reminds us that real strength isn't just muscle, that pride can make us blind, and that sometimes the biggest help comes from the places you'd never, ever expect.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Who's the lion in your life who might just need a mouse? And maybe even more important, when are you being the lion, overlooking real help just because it doesn't look the way you expect? It's a powerful thing to think about.